we've been saying that what is meditation? People like to know what is yoga, what is meditation all about? Meditation is in two parts. In other words, look at meditation from two perspectives. One is the samatha part. The other is the vipassana part. That's in the Sanskrit language or the Pali language. In common English, the samatha part is calming the mind, or let the mind come to a stabilization, tranquilize the mind. Let the mind calm down. Our mind has not been calming down. Our mind is always going all over the place, thinking about various things. Our thoughts are non-stop. That brings us a lot of suffering. Our thoughts have always been out of control. So the Buddha said, first of all, is to calm down the mind. Calming the mind down is not sufficient to get onto an enlightenment. You also have to carry out vipassana, which is, in the common English language, is introspection. So other than just calming down the mind, you also need to raise your wisdom. You need to introspectively think about all these various truth or untruth, or all these questions in your mind that you haven't resolved. Or other than calming down the mind, you have to find out, what is this mind that I have? In the first place, why did my mind always wandering in different directions? Why are my emotions out of control? What is this universe like? What is a being? What is to have or to be? All these various questions, unresolved questions in your mind, or when you are introspecting, you need to build up some wisdom. You need to have the right concepts to conceptualize what you're thinking. In other words, other than calming down your mind, you need some concepts to guide you to enlightenment. Because everybody's mind is conducted in thinking about concepts. We conceptualize everything. Some people, since birth, have wrong conceptualization. The concept of being selfish, the concept of misunderstanding, the concept of greediness, the concepts of hatred, fear, all these concepts have been guiding us in the wrong way. The Buddha told us, introduced us to all the right concepts to use when you are doing insightful meditation. Other than just calming down your mind, you need insights. Insightful meditation, we call it vipassana, to guide, to conceptualize your thinking. Nobody can think without concepts, right? But it's very important that we have the right concepts. Where do we get the right concepts? The Buddha's teaching contained various concepts. It's like an ocean of concepts in the three Tripitaka, the three canons of Buddhism. The Vinaya, the Samadhi, and the Vipassana, the Prajna, or the Panya in the Pali language, which in common English is Sila, or morality. People like to use concentration. Third, wisdom. You need the right concepts to guide the mind. And we've been talking about these concepts. Without concepts, you cannot think. We need these concepts. And these concepts, you have to learn about them. So we have been learning some basic concepts like these. The four seals of the Buddha, Paticcasamuppada, and these are the very important basic concepts that we must have in order to visualize, in order to conceptualize. For example, the four seals of the Dharma. What are the four seals of the Dharma? We have to know the four seals: impermanence, suffering, and non-self, and nirvana. Those are the four seals. What is impermanence? All phenomena, the Buddha told us, arise dependent on conditions. What is dependent on conditions is unstable, imperfect, is always subject to changes. Everything is therefore impermanent. Constant changeability is a characteristic of existence. Changes all the time. Everything is impermanent. Don't try to hold things as permanent. Subconsciously, we want to hold everything as permanence. That brings us suffering. We want to keep a relationship permanent. We want to keep wealth permanent. We want to keep everything permanent. And that brings sufferings. We want to think that life is permanent. Nobody think of dying. Nobody think of dying tomorrow. But who can guarantee that one is not dying tomorrow? We don't know. So impermanence. Second is suffering. What is impermanent is insecure. Phenomena that are insecure are against our desires and will. Impermanence brings about suffering, such as, what is impermanence? Aging, sickness, and death. That makes us unhappy. How can anyone be happy if one is always confronted with impermanence, aging, and sickness? We're not pessimistic. That's the truth. Who can escape aging? Who can escape death? Nobody can. But in spite of all this suffering, we're still sensually looking for pleasures. And that is not happiness. That is just a temporary sensual pleasures. All right. The third is non-self. Impermanence and suffering are not under our control. What is not under our control does not belong to us and is not mine. The body that I call I or myself is only a delusive existence. We already have spent many hours of explaining why we are only living in the dream of existence. We think we exist as an ego, as self exists, but we don't. We don't exist. So that's the four seals of the Buddha, of the Dharma. And then also we explain Paticca in detail. Paticca. And Paticca is a concept that explains life and death. And we started with avidya, which is ignorance. Because with ignorance, we started from a baby with ignorance, state of no rational thinking activities, emotional reaction. And then we have sankhara. Sankhara, which is initial mental constructions. We have the mental part, the verbal part, and the physical part, sankhara. And then we go on to vijnana, which is the initial awareness. We have eyes interact with matters, ears interact with sound, nose with smell, tongue with taste, body with touch, and brain with thoughts. And then the baby began to learn namarupa, which means that identification of everything by names, by visualization, by concepts. And then as we grow older, we have salayatana, which is all the sensual pleasures, visual consciousness, auditory consciousness, olfactory consciousness, gustatory consciousness, and tactile consciousness. We already have explained all that. And then we get into phassa. This is phassa. We're in the phassa. Phassa is cognition, when the six senses are experiencing environments to create mental images. We have what we call cognition, and then recognitions. Some people call recognition, recognitions. We cognize something, we recognize and put it in our memory, and from our memory we have a whole file of memory, and whatever in the future what we're experiencing, we always bring back memories and compare and contrast and label and stereotype. And that's the problem. And when we're labeling, we have Vedanta, which give us feelings of pleasantness, unpleasantness, and neutral. And then we have Tanha, Tanha is emotional reaction to feelings. Tanhas. And then we have Upadanta, which is personalization of the subjective experiences that we have, and reaction with manas, our egoistic chitta. That is Upadanta. Upadanta, remember, whatever experiences we have is classified into what? Objective experience and subjective experiences. We alienate objective experiences and we personalize subjective experiences. Everything we personalize. And when we personalize, sufferings come. And then we have bhava, which is mental creation of a delusive self. We always think in terms of an ego. We have a self. We have I. And we've spent hours talking about we don't have an I. The I is, what is I? What is I? I is the body occupying space, the mentality occupying the time as past, present, and future. And we have analyzed it in detail that no time exists, no space exists. How can the I exist? Okay, and then jati, which is a birth or reincarnation. And then we go back to jara marana, which is death. Birth is past of the body. Birth is the past. The present body is the present, and the future is death, the future of the body. Aging, sickness, struggle of existence. And that's the loop. We call it antecedental, interdependent occurrences of life. And that you really have to think about it. Don't just memorize the words. You have to meditate on it. If you just read the words, you're just verbally understanding it without an insight into it. You really have to put yourself in the perspective of paticca samuppada, not put the words in your mind. Putting the words in your mind is just the initial part of the thinking. But people conceptualize by words, by examples, by visualization, by images. So I want to introduce some of the important basic concepts that the Buddha introduced to us, and so many of these concepts, and these concepts are all related. And some people said, I don't know what to do. There's so much to learn in the Buddhist teaching. What should I start? Where should I start? I'm like facing an ocean of information that I can get. Where do I start? You start from a few basic concepts. In order to know the taste of the ocean, you don't need to drink up the whole ocean, don't you? I want to know the taste of the ocean. I want to drink up the whole ocean. You cannot. You just scoop a cup of the ocean water and taste it, and you know what it tastes like, right? So you just scoop up these few concepts, and you know what the Buddha is talking about. And with these concepts, the Buddha said, sufficient. These are the concepts that are sufficient for you to start. So we've been talking about the four seals of the Buddha, paticca samuppada, and now we're on the third concept, the Noble Eightfold Path, the Noble Eightfold Ways. When we study the Buddhist teaching, because it contains so much information, we need to put ourselves in the right position. We must know what are we, where are we now? We are learning vipassana. We're learning the introspection of the meditation. We already have finished how to concentrate, how to focus, how to do samatha, to arrive at samadhi, how to calm down the mind. Given that you know how to do it, we already have spent 30, 40 hours on doing that. And now we say calming down the mind is not enough. We are going into introspection. And in doing introspection, you need these basic concepts to introspect. And that's our position. That's what way we are standing now. And in learning this concept, we already learned the four seals of the Dharma. We already have learned the Paticca Now, why don't we pick up the Noble Eightfold Path? What did the Buddha talk about? We say the Noble Eightfold Path contains these 8 ways. There's eight ways of understanding, of awareness. You need to thoroughly be aware of these 8 ways. The first is the right perspective, right orientation, which is related to wisdom. The right speech, right action, right lifestyle, related to morality. Right effort, right introspection, and right mental equilibrium, which is related to meditation. So you need to have wisdom, morality, and meditation in order to arrive at what we call enlightenment. What we call, if we can say it, actually the nirvana is a term that is very profound. If you want to get onto nirvana, or samya sambuddhi. So you need wisdom, morality, and meditation. And why don't we, in the next, I don't know, half an hour or 1 hour, if we can't finish, we can carry on for the next time. Why don't we spend some time on this, what people understand to be simple, just the superficial meaning is simple, the words are simple, but the deep thinking of it is not simple. Memorizing the words are not enough. Get to the essence of it. Why don't we just get to the essence of it now? Why don't we examine everyone in detail? Right perspective. Right perspective is to become fully aware of the Four Noble Truths. You have to be aware of the Four Noble Truths. Suffering, causes of suffering, how to liberate from sufferings, and the way to be liberated from sufferings. So in other words, the Buddha told us, the Buddha pointed out that we are living in samsara. We are living in the world of suffering. Does not mean that we are pessimistic. How can we not be in suffering if we always have to confront, to undergo sickness, death, and aging? Are those not suffering? Suffering arising from departure from beloved ones, suffering arising from hatred, from wars, from natural disasters, from failures, from emotional upheavals, from depression, from greediness. All these are sufferings. How can we say life is beautiful? We would like to make life beautiful. We should have an attitude of trying to be happy in suffering. But suffering itself is a truth. But our way of thinking is, in spite of the fact that we're in suffering, we want to face this suffering with acceptance, with positive attitude. Yes, that's the right attitude. But you cannot, just an attitude, but you cannot say there's no sufferings in life. There's actually sufferings in life, not just your sufferings. Every sentient being is suffering. You think the dog is happy? Depends on where the dog is. I have seen stray dogs coming to the temple, and they're going everywhere. They're looking for food. And there are also dogs in luxury homes. And they suffer less, but they still suffer. So sufferings, why are we in suffering? What is suffering? Suffering is simply insecurity. Starting from the stage of in human life, or from our ancestors, they were insecure. They were hunting for food. They were afraid of darkness. They're looking for supernatural power to protect them. We're all feeling insecure. Nobody would feel secure. You're trying to feel secure, that's good, because you don't want to be dominated by the emotion, by the fear of insecurity, and that's the right approach. But that is really insecurity of life. And the Buddha called it dukkha. We have sufferings. But the Buddha said, yes, we have suffering, but we cannot just passively waiting for the sufferings to come up. We want to find out, why are we suffering? We have to, in order to avoid, overcome, transcend sufferings, we have to find out the causes of this suffering, the causes of this insecurity. In the Sanskrit languages, samudaya. We want to find out why we are suffering. And then we want to know, after knowing the causes of this, we want to know how to liberate from sufferings, to go beyond sufferings. And we found a way, then we can transcend suffering and go into a state where there's no suffering. So because we are suffering, we are positively looking for a way to avoid suffering, not just for yourself, for all the folks, all your folks, for all people. The Buddha found a way to transcend suffering, and he introduced these ways to us to get away from suffering. In other words, the Buddha has found a map to get away from the forest of suffering. And he didn't go into nirvana just for himself. He wanted to stay in the forest and show us the map, how to get out. So the whole Buddhist teaching is on the Four Noble Truths, how to get away from life and death, how to get away from suffering. Not just blindly believe in a Buddha. The Buddha is the God. No, the Buddha pointed out to us that the God is in you. You can avoid, get out from the suffering. Nobody can. If God can get you out from suffering, He has already done it. You don't even have to ask. You have to walk out yourself. Here's the map. Are you willing to look at the map? Do you want to look at the map? You have to know where it is. The Buddha cannot use his power to put you there. There's no such thing as God who has the power to get you out from suffering. So, you have to have the right perspective first in order to know how to get into vipassana. If you don't even know suffering, you think that being rich is getting out of suffering. Being wealthy, have reputation, nice family, nice homes, nice cars, that would get you out from sufferings. That could get you more into sufferings. Or getting famous. So you have to know that there are sufferings. We have to find out causes of suffering. We want to liberate from sufferings. And once we liberate from suffering, we are in a state of a nirvana. So in order to do that, we have to have the right orientation. We need a paradigm shift, so to speak, in common English. What is a paradigm shift? Very important word. What is the meaning of a paradigm shift? A paradigm shift is, I have been habitually used to thinking this way. Now, this way is really wrong. I want to shift from this habit into something different. Previously, I think that drinking is right. I want to have fun. I want to have a good time. I'm involved with it. I'm intoxicated. I built up this habit. and I don't know this is bad habit because I find happiness, quote unquote happiness, in this. So I get drunk. Now somebody told you got to have a paradigm shift from this bad habit of intoxication into calmness, into the wisdom of staying away from intoxication, into the wisdom of being always sober all the time. So you need a paradigm shift to replace our habitual thinking to a new and noble way oriented towards enlightenment. You must be willing to have this paradigm shift. You must be willing to change. So you must have the right orientation, the right way, the right path. You need to walk in the right path. So you need to be aware that happiness comes from serenity of mind, not from experiencing sensual pleasures, but from letting go of the notion of self. Meditation is not about getting. I want to get this. I want to get serenity of mind. I want to get natural power. I want to be healthy. I want to be wise. I want. Meditation is not about getting. Meditation is about what? Losing everything. You lose your greediness, lose your emotion, lose your hatred, lose your anxiety, lose your depression. It's getting rid of. You're not getting something. If you think meditation is to get something, no. Temporal learning is to get something. The right Tao is to lose. That's what Lao Tzu said, a very ancient philosopher in China. Lao Tzu, I don't know if you heard about him. I want to translate what he said about this, but I have to say the word in Chinese first. 為學日增，為道日損. Temporal learning, you want to learn, is to increase your knowledge. You increase your knowledge. I want to learn how to drive. I want to learn computer. Yeah, I want to learn everything. Piano, I want to learn. Learning is to enhancing to learning, but the real Tao is to lose. So meditation is not about getting. It's about giving up. You give up your fame, give up your reputation, give up your ego, give up your emotion, give up your depression, give up your hatred. You give up until you have nothing to give up. And that's nirvana. That's enlightenment. You drop everything. In other words, you drop yourself. The aim is to gain control over emotions through the practice. So the aim, the objective, is to gain control over emotions through the practice of sila, samatha, and prajna. Once we have the paradigm shift, we begin to practice the next 3 steps, aiming at achieving sila, that is to say, avoiding bad, and bhatta, doing good, related to our speech, action, and lifestyle. So in other words, okay, we know, okay, I know I need the right perspective. I need to understand the world is full of suffering. I want to change this. I want to get out from suffering. I want to liberate from sufferings. And just a few more words about right perspective. The Buddha enjoyed all the luxuries as a prince in the palace, which all people, all of us are always striving for. Fame, reputation, luxuries. The Buddha enjoyed all that when he was a prince, the best. He had 4 palaces for each season. He had all the concubines, all the ladies and everything, all the luxuries. But he knew these would not give enlightenment. these would only lead to sufferings, indulge, attachment. So he want to get rid of these and look for ways to transcend sufferings, which is just the opposite of what ordinary people are doing now, what we are doing. We always want money, fame, reputation. I can risk my life in getting that. But the Buddha said, get away from those. Those will not give you happiness. You have to walk away from those. But how many people would walk away from money, from wealth, reputation, pleasures? How many people walk away from those? Maybe one, very few. So after you have the right perspective, you should have the right orientation. The right orientation is, you must know that happiness comes from not from these, but from letting go of the self, from the control of emotions through the practice of sila, samatha, and prajna. And once we have this shift, then we begin to practice. This is just an awareness. Once we have this awareness, once we know that this is what we're going to do, what we have to actually perform, we have to actually carry out what we learn, right? We already have these concepts, right perspective, right orientation in mind. We need to carry out this, practice this. And where do we start to practice? We start to practice from three sources. Our behavior, our actions. We behave every day, right? We walk, we do all the actions. We have to start from our action, our speech, and our thinking. We start to carry out the right perspective, right orientation by improving, shifting, changing our behavior or actions, our speech, and our thinking, which leads to right speech. So we need to change, have a paradigm shift of getting to the right speech. This is speech that does not create conflicts such as hatred, enmity, disunity, disharmony among individual groups of people, but instead creates happiness wherever we go, such as abstinence from lying, abstinence from abusive or foul language, abstinence from flattering and flowery language, abstinence from slandering, babbling, gossiping. We must learn this first. We must make our speech right. We must obey, we must conform, first of all, to this morality standard before we get onto the right way. The right action. This is our ethical and moral behavior, which is always pleasant to ourselves and to others, such as abstinence from harming or destroying the lives of all sentient beings, abstinence from stealing, abstinence from sexual misconduct, such as illegitimate sexual relationship. We need to carry out this good behavior. If you're not even having the right behavior, how can you get onto the right perspective and the right orientation? Empty talk is useless. You just talk about it, but you never walk it. You never perform it. That's the reason why we need to have Vinaya, the right morality. So these right speech, right actions, we need to learn them. And this is related to the Vinaya part, the morality part. The Buddhist teaching is in three broad categories. The wisdom part, morality part, and what? And the concentration part, or the prajna part, or the pana part in the Pali language. The right lifestyle. The right lifestyle involves a lot of thinking. It involves speech and action too. It means that one should abstain from making one's living through a profession that brings harm to others, such as slaughtering animals for profit, trading in arms and lethal weapons, intoxicating materials or drinks, cheating, promoting sexual misconduct. One should have a harmonious lifestyle, which is unselfish, honest, compassionate, and tolerant way of living that is helpful but not harmful to anyone in the world. And practicing Sila and Bhatta, practicing Sila is to stop bad deeds. Bhatta, in addition to stopping what is bad, you also have to actively doing good deeds. So in other words, not killing animals, for example, is not enough. You have to initiate by saving animals. I don't hunt, I don't fish, that's okay. I'm obeying the Vinayas. Not enough. You don't hunt, you don't fish, but you also have to actively, compassionately protecting animals, stopping others to kill animals. Try to, at least. And almost like impossible in this world, atrocities. Because we humans are used to killing animals for food, habitually killing animals for food. If you visit a slaughterhouse, you may not eat meat anymore. You don't have to visit a slaughterhouse. Get on to Google and get into how they slaughter chickens, pigs, buffaloes. You know how cruel humans are. They don't think cruelty as something unusual. They do it every day. And their professions, I know of a guy, his profession is they call it chasing chickens. They just use a rod, and their profession is just hitting the chicken in the head and make them dead so they can be slaughtered in the old way. But nowadays, they don't even do that. They hang onto an assembly line upside down and they slice it all the way through. They don't even use manual labor now. They can kill thousands of chickens per day, per hour. So, practicing Sila and Bhatta is the foundation of being a good person. One has to develop the mental discipline to achieve enlightenment through the next 3 ways. So, right speech, right action, right lifestyle is only doing good, stopping bad, doing good, but you still need the right mental discipline to achieve this enlightenment. So that's the next 3 noble ways. What are these 3? Right efforts, right introspection, right mental equilibrium. Let's deal with right efforts. This comprises 4 parts: prevention, elimination, cultivation, and maintenance. What is prevention? To prevent evil and unwholesome states of mind from arising. This is guarding of the senses. So that if you have bad thoughts coming up, you want to intoxicate yourself, you want to cheat others, you want to go hunting, killing the deers for the antlers or whatever, for the meat or whatever. Stop that. You prevent that. To prevent evil and unwholesome thoughts coming up. I have unwholesome thoughts, evil thoughts. Right now, for example, I have a thought of sexual misconduct. You have to prevent it from happening. In the prevention stage, that is guarding your senses. Our senses are going astray. Our senses are looking for pleasures in the wrong way. So you have to prevent that from happening. That is involved in calming down your mind, calming down the desultory thoughts of misconduct. Prevention. The second one is elimination. To eliminate such evil and unwholesome states of mind that have already arisen, This is letting go of emotions once we know that our senses are attaching to externalities. So you prevent it from happening, and if it happens in you, you try to eliminate it. If the thought comes up, as I always give an example, if a guy is meditating in here and all of a sudden maybe he sees what he thinks is a beautiful woman, and then his thought is being attracted to that externality of what he call beauty, then many thoughts will come in his mind. It's not purity anymore. He cannot prevent it from happening because he has been habitually attaching to looking for sensual pleasures. But if you are meditating, if you have control over your mind, if you have this samatha part, you say, no, I want to stop this idea. Or if I want to have a drink. No, I want to stop this idea. The thought comes up, but you want to prevent it, sometimes you cannot. The thought comes up, the thought perpetuates, control you, then you go to the liquor store. Then if you don't have any money, you steal, you rob. You do by all illegal means to satisfy that pleasure that's in your mind. If you are in meditation, if you are in control of your thought, you can prevent that from happening. The thought may come up, and then it perpetuates into a second thought, and then you say, stop. I want to stop this thought. You need training to stop it. If you know that you have to stop it, you're already on your way. You're already on your way to enlightenment because you know how to stop. Our problem is we do not know how to stop. One drink after another. We don't know how to stop. And if you can prevent it from happening, then the next step is, I want to eliminate that thought from coming up. I want to eliminate it completely. Third, cultivation. Bhavana. Bhavana, to produce, to cause, to arise wholesome states of mind not yet arising. Now, previous prevention and elimination is for evil and unwholesome thoughts coming up. Those are the two ways to deal with them. Prevent them, and when they come up, eliminate them. The cultivation and maintenance is to produce and cause to arise wholesome thoughts. So it is not sufficient just not to do bad things. You also have to do good deeds. Positively, actively do good deeds, not just stopping yourself from doing bad deeds. You also have to positively, actively doing good deeds. That's why when you see people, we want to protect seals in the north, and we don't want people to kill them, you should support them because they are actually cultivating good thoughts, good deeds. We want to promote people and tell them that we should be vegetarian and not killing animals for food. So they're producing good thoughts. They cause good thoughts to arise. That's cultivation. Cultivation of good thought. Or we want to go for meditation so that we know how to enlighten ourselves. That's a good thought coming up. Don't stop people from thinking about good thoughts. You should encourage, praise good thoughts. Encourage. It's just like when the kids say, I want to do something good. I want to be intelligent. You encouraged him to do it. I want to be good at certain sports. Encourage them to do it. Don't discourage them. Cultivate them. Cultivate these good thoughts. Maintenance. Fourth, to develop and bring to perfection the wholesome states of mind already present. If you have these good thoughts in you, maintain it, protect it, perfect it. Don't let it drop. That's the right effort. So I only finished 6 of this Noble Eightfold Ways in a brief form. Of course, for every one of these items, we can go deeper into it. But these should be the concepts that we should have in our mind when we are doing vipassana, when we are doing introspection. If you don't even have the right concepts, how can you introspect? How can you contemplate? If you're thinking of, I want to make a lot of money. I want to buy a house in the next year. I want to do this. I want to do that. It's good to buy a house, but not at the expense of harming others. You have to do it the right way. Don't get me wrong. It does not mean that you shouldn't buy a big mansion. If you can, fine, but you don't have to do it the right way, not harming others, not at the expense of others. Okay, so these are the 8 right. I mentioned only 6, the 8 Noble Eightfold Ways. We will continue with the remaining. And right now we are in introspection. Remember, we are in two perspective. We already have finished the stabilization. We are in introspection. And in introspection, you need to have the right view, the right concepts. And you always have to refresh this concept in your mind. Impermanence, non-self, sufferings that we have to bypass, we have to transcend, and all that concepts that always need to be stationing in our mind. And we use these concepts to analyze, to help us into introspection.